Hi guys and welcome, I'm Piotr and this is Daily Read, when we try to read something every day and learn something new. Still going through Spark, so let's go. Let's see what we can learn today. There is something curious. There were two groups in a hospital for detoxification from alcohol. Pretty much the more intense exercise group had a lot better results. Well, no shocker given what we already know and what we read, but additionally, people actually substituted wine for exercise. Good to know, so it is possible. And the nice term for that is actually the biology of stress, like for example comfort food, porn, sex, alcohol, etc, buying stuff like for example compulsive buying on Amazon, or when you're drunk you buy stuff, some shit you don't even know and you don't even remember you bought it. So exercise might be a substitute for that, because some people argue that it is easier to form a habit by, or remove an addiction, to just replace this with a positive habit. Pretty much also an addiction, but a positive one that actually benefits you. Just like in the Constantine movie, instead of a cigarette at the end, he chews a bubble gum. This is something I really didn't know. Many of ADHD patients use cigarettes as a focus point. It's something to help them focus. Curious, actually, I would say, but good to know. Well, this study is, of course, about rats, but exercise reduces the withdrawal symptoms of pretty much anything you are abusing or using a little bit too much. So it's not really said why it is working like that, but I would argue that those are those endorphins and all the positive chemistry that is pretty much secreted in your body, like hormones, dopamine, norepinephrine, and it actually does. You pretty much change a drug for another one, because this is how it looks, but those are positive things that actually reinforce, and you actually get to move, which pretty much cleanses your body because their metabolism is actually working and everything is moving a lot faster and nicer. So yeah, like if you actually fight with something, try to just simply change it for exercise. And of course, the intensity of the exercise, the higher the better, with some sweet spot, but just simply have this in the back of your mind. And I would, for example, from experience say that high intensity training intervals, for example in a spinning class with some very loud music, works great. You just have to try it. John describes here pretty much rope jumping, very high intensity, very exhausting. Pretty much 10 minutes is equal to half an hour of bike riding. So, and it's pretty much a quick fix. Like if you want dopamine and endorphins hit, just start rope jumping and it's there. After a couple of minutes you're so exhausted you're eventually hyperventilating, so yeah, it just might do the job. It's pretty much like a drug, but well, at least this one is a positive one. The idea is pretty much, the title for the chapter is Hooked on the Good Stuff. So, instead of bad stuff like drugs, you can be hooked on the good stuff, which pretty much works as drugs, but is good for you. Meaning, of course, sport, exercise, etc. And additionally, the danger of getting addicted to exercise applies to a very small percentage of the population. Most notably girls with anorexia, or some other mental disorders. So pretty much what I can get from that is, well, don't be afraid you will be overdosing on exercise. You might be, but it shouldn't be your concern when you start. Let's dig into that after, but probably you won't be. So it's very good choice. There's a very nice idea here that people actually get hooked up on the exercise because they love to perform. Like if you are, for example, able to run a marathon after a year or two of preparing for that, you feel very, very good and you don't want to lose this. So you will actually run just for the sake of testing yourself if you are still capable of doing this, and if not, then probably you either let yourself go, so you need to put yourself back on the track, or just simply work a little bit harder. But pretty much for the long run, it's very beneficial because you actually self-regulate that you actually should move and keep up the good work, as they say. And if you actually exercise enough, there is a little bit of maintenance to do because you actually have to build your life around it, because not everyone and not always have the ability to run and or exercise. You need to think about how to provide yourself with the proper means, place and time to actually do this. Okay guys, pretty much, yeah, it was only 13 minutes, but it's the end of the chapter and that's it. Thanks for tuning in, hope you read something, hope you learned something, and see you next time.